Why do so many people get divorced in the military? I'm Kate, your Most BFF. So many people get divorced in the military, frankly, because they have not had the knowledge and the background to support the independence needed for this life. Agree with me or not? That's what the underlying is. So many people come from different backgrounds, and the way that you were raised may or may not have set you up for the kind of independence that this life requires. And if you are not willing to work at your marriage as much as you are willing to work towards a dream, towards a goal, towards a job, towards a promotion at your marriage as you are with those other things, then you are more likely to fail at it. We're all honest here. This is going to be an honest conversation. Some of the hotter topics that get under people's skin: communication. A lot of people suck at communicating. Finances. A lot of people don't understand how to manage their money properly. And all the military families I know are not killing it financially, which would put a huge strain on your marriage. Constant deployments or moving around. Yeah, time away in the military is common. Every unit I know has some type of deployment rotation. So the odds that your spouse is going to be deployed within their military contract is high. And that is the longest separation. That is the hardest separation because it requires a lot from the spouse. Another huge one is learning how to adjust into a completely different life. I've said this in other videos. The military makes up about 0.5% currently of the US population. You're a unicorn. This career path is extremely rare. So the fact that so many spouses and people who are active duty compare their lives to the civilian world, and they cannot be compared. It's like comparing tennis shoes and apples. They're not at all the same. Do we have common problems? Absolutely. Every marriage has the same common problem. But they're different in different ways. We as spouses face different challenges that civilian spouses don't. I was talking to my mom about this earlier. We were talking about tier 1 and the higher echelon service members. The goal that I have with my business is to build it so big that I can one day buy a plantation and create some type of retreat for military service members to come and actually forget about the military and just be normal. Feed a pig, pick an egg that was freshly laid, things like that. But the main topic of that conversation was that so many people who marry a service member do not understand, unless you come from that life, unless you come from a military family, do not understand the innuendos that this life holds. And in moments of the hardest moments, when you reach out to a family member and they have no idea what's going on and cannot relate, the first thing they spew out is, well, you chose this life. You chose a really hard life. So you should deal with it. You would never say that to a new parent. You would never say, oh, well, you know what? You chose to have this baby. So you should have known that the baby was gonna keep you up for like 6 hours at night and then only sleep on and off all day. Like, you should have known that you'd be completely sleep deprived. Sorry, but not sorry. So what do you do as a military spouse, as a military family, to prevent what seems like an inevitable thing? First thing that my husband and I did as soon as we got married, before we got married actually, we erased the word divorce from our marriage. We are committed, committed together, united. We are stronger together. Together, we will work hard at our marriage to keep it strong. Will we have weak moments as a couple? Yeah, everyone does. Everyone does. But to make that hard decision that we are going to do our best for each other, was the first thing. And that was before he was even active duty. We were both in the reserves at the time. Second thing, financially, you have to get on a plan. Finances suck in the military. They suck. Everyone I know is low income. It's difficult for spouses to keep jobs because we move so often. And even though veterans or military have priority, as a spouse, an employer will look at you and say, I don't know if it's even worth training you because I don't know how long you're going to be here. Or even in the interview, they will ask, well, when's the next time you're going to move? When have you moved here? Like, when have you moved since? As if you're not valuable. So you have that against you. Trying to do things online or have some type of at-home job is harder than it looks, especially if you're a stay-at-home mom. When you're at a job, you're at a job. And that employer expects you to do that job. So even if you work from home, you are working at a job. You're just at home. So it's not like you could work a full-time job and take care of your kids properly, right? Because it's not like you drop your kids off at a daycare and the daycare worker's like a telemarketer also. For some reason, that is so hard for people to grasp. Like, I can't do two jobs at once. You know what I mean? So you need a financial plan. I have a video also. I will link it in the show notes. My husband and I have had discussions around our finance and have come together with a plan. It is easier to take monthly income in the military as a whole month and not two paychecks because you're not paid biweekly. It's not the first Friday and the third Friday. It's the first maybe and the 15th maybe. Like, that's around. We have Navy Federal. So if the 15th is on a Monday, we get paid the business day before. That's the 12th. That's the 12th. And then we have to wait till the 30th or 31st to get paid again. So that's a pretty big gap. Sometimes the second paycheck is like 2.5, 3 weeks. Did you know that? Can you plan for that? So have a financial plan. Again, I will link my other financial video. Third, communication is so much bigger than people realize. Communication, when you're person to person, when you come home every day, is so much easier than when you are in different time zones and now you have two different schedules that you have to bounce back and forth. So getting on a regular discussion and being comfortable with discussing hard topics, uncomfortable topics, being uncomfortable with conflict, because conflict will always come up. It is how you handle it that determines the outcome, right? Like, if you are the type of person who is easily upset or more ego driven, it's harder for you to accept information. We're calling that what it is, right? Again, we're all honest here. So if you have a large ego, it is harder for you to accept information and regurgitate needs back to your spouse. Right? If that's you, or if you have had like really shitty examples when you were growing up of healthy communication, I have a communications course, just launched it. It's at amotherstruth.com. It's under communication mini course. Not that long. It's 26 slides, PowerPoint. But there is carefully researched information and experienced information in there also. I like to bring in my own experiences between my husband and I. So that's also in it. That course goes over the basic pillars of conversation, it touches on how to control unhelpful emotions and what to do instead of getting really upset and storming out and never talking about what's upsetting you again. Alternative methods of communicating, and a special deployment slide on how to still stay physically connected to your spouse while they're deployed. So, for an example, our girls, loved to color with their dad. He's deployed now, and he can't really color with them. So, our next care package, we're going to send him a color book and crayons. So, when we video call, he can take out the book and he can play with them. Playtime with dad is huge. And I know my 3-year-old is really struggling with not having her daddy home and not having that special playtime. So to bridge that gap, to mend that hole, that's what we're doing. Number 4, the things that you would never think about from a civilian coming into military life is perspective change and expectations. You grew up with certain expectations coming from the civilian world. Your parents or dad or mom, whoever, had a regular job with a regular schedule. You went to school at regular times and did things, change periods, class periods, went home, got the bus, ate the same meal, went to the same activities, did the same sport at the exact same time. So you had a very routine life. Holding on to that old expectation and bringing it into military life is the opposite of helpful. Military life is always unexpected. For a while, your spouse might have the same routine where they come, go to PT, they come home, have breakfast, and then they leave for first formation, and they do their stuff. Maybe they'll come home for lunch, leave around the same time. That will happen for a period of time, but then they'll get a deployment workup. Maybe they'll have a field training. Something might happen in the motor pool. Maybe they're receiving a cargo. Maybe they're doing driver's training. Who knows? That gets disrupted. And sometimes that makes us angry or question why that's happening. It's military. It's going to happen. We move all the time. Orders get changed. That's a big one. Waiting for hard orders. That's a big one. The last time my husband got orders, we had 3. We had 3 sets. We were supposed to go to Italy. He was supposed to report 10 days after our second baby was born. So that was not happening. We had to deny them. I don't know many people who would move countries with a fresh baby. The second one, he was actually ordered to go to a disband unit. How that happened, I don't know. But that's what it was. So he had to contact the branch manager, and then we ended up at our current location. Things happen all the time. Expectations need to be dropped if they are unrealistic for that period in your life. And that is okay. You can hold yourself to the same standards in your marriage, the same standards for yourself, morality-wise, but having the same expectations that your day-to-day will be the exact same is unrealistic, and that's just what it is. 5th one I struggled with when I first became a military spouse. You feel like you lose yourself. Same when you become a new parent. You're trying to figure out that your whole world shifts when you first move away from home because you're taking yourself out of the regular and immersing yourself into a completely different world. So as a person, you try to figure out where you fit into that world. And for me, I really didn't know who I was at first, and I had to do that in my late 20s when I was turning 30, which was very difficult. And I had an extremely hard time trying to figure out who I was as a person, what my interests were, who I wanted as friends. I mean, the things that you figure out when you're a small child, that's what I was figuring out in my late 20s. Plus, being away from my family and my husband, who was back and forth to his new unit and had 12, 14-hour days. And I was trying to take care of an infant and a young toddler. That's where I was. That's where a lot of people are. A lot of spouses are. And that becomes extremely frustrating, almost debilitating. A lot of spouses feel depressed and anxious, and then things in the home or other relationships suffer. So if you have felt like you have lost yourself or are becoming someone else because of military life, head to amothertruth.com, get my book, Atlas. I have specific things in Atlas that deal with personhood and finding people to bring into your new community who will be helpful and who will be less than helpful. Retaining your personhood in this new life, retaining who you are as a person, your own interests, your own goals is extremely important, and they are not second. You are not second to the military. You are your own main character in your life, and you deserve to chase the dreams and goals and ambitions and hobbies that you have always done. So remember that. You are your own main character, and it is okay for you to take time to yourself to retain who you are. It's okay to rearrange things so you have your own time. Believing in yourself, believing in your marriage, keeping expectations and your perspective of things reasonable for this state, the period, the season that you are in now. Right now. Not what was. Not at the last duty station. Not your life before the military. Right now. We're constantly adjusting. And that is fine. It's fine. You guys are stronger together. Stronger together. Date night. So important. Communication. Be open to it. If someone is feeling left out, alone, it's not your fault. It's not your spouse's fault. We don't place blame. We talk about how we feel and what we can do to make it better. I have flat out said to my husband, I need an empathetic answer. I don't need a solution, because men think of solutions. They're solution based. If I have a problem, then he's going to try to find me a solution. I don't need a solution. My guy, I need you to listen to me. And I need you to actively listen and tell me something empathetic and try to sympathize with me, which are two different things, by the way. I need you to be empathetic to the situation that I am in now, home with our children by myself, trying to get everything done while you are off in the world over here, looking at all this. Empathize with me. That's what I need. So it's okay for you to tell your partner what specifically you need. They're not mind readers. We're not going to play those games. Okay. And your personhood. Who are you? Who did they fall in love with? Right? Sometimes I like to ask myself that. Who did my husband fall in love with? Right? What are the qualities that he loves that I should love in myself? Right? My creativity, my dazzling personality, obviously. I don't know, sarcasm, humor. What does your spouse love that you should love about yourself? What are the things that you love to do that fuel you, that fill up you? Because you give so much, right? So we're going to think about those things. We're going to think about those 5 things. We're going to consider all of them. And if you need help, which is fine, if you need a resource, you know where to go. heavy topics. If you've been feeling miserable in your military life, hit subscribe. You will always find community here. Hitting subscribe helps me reach the people who need this most. Head to amothertruth.com. I have everything there. I have a lot of freebies too. I just uploaded more this morning. So head over there. If you have trouble with like meals and stuff, I did a meal calendar, shopping list, basic meals. It's so much value that I give away for free. Is all there. I also have books, workbooks, worksheets, the communication course. It's all there. I'll see you on amothertruth.com.